you're an athlete. I see you as an athlete. And when you take on that as an identity, whether you're a pro or you're a recreational athlete,
Sure.
you're going to want to start doing things that athletes do.
Hey guys, Johnny Disc Golf here at the 2019 Masters Cup with coverage presented by the Next Gen Tour. I am standing here with the founder, the owner, the sole proprietor of Disc Golf Strong, Seth Munsey. How you doing, buddy?
Great, Corey. How are you?
I'm doing good, and I'm really excited to see you out here. Not that it's a surprise. I know this is kind of your neck of the woods, but there seems to be like call it like a fitness revolution going on in disc golf. Can you speak to that, and how's it going?
It very much is. It's been great to see I started Disc Golf Strong in the beginning of 2016, and to see where it's come now in these last 3 years, it's been amazing. The athletes are really taking hold of making sure that they're feeling good, their body's healthy. I always, tell them your body's your business card. So you got to treat yourself like a real athlete, and more athletes are doing that. So it's been great to see.
No, that's great. And even really like using the word athlete, I think is like a small step in that direction. I think, when people think disc golfer, historically, they haven't thought athlete. Do you think it's guys like Eagle McMahon and ladies like, Paige Pierce and I know Madison Walker works a lot with you. Do you think it's them that are changing that, or is it you kind of trying to step in and change that?
Well, I think that a lot of those athletes have always felt that way, even if they didn't, put it out there that, hey, I'm a disc golf athlete. Right in the very beginning on social media, every time I post a video or anything on my Instagram or anything, I would do hashtag disc golf athlete. And I would talk about in videos that there's professional disc golf athletes and there's recreational disc golf athletes. Because really, when you have an identity as something, then you're going to be it's going to be easier for you to start accepting the things that identity holds. Like, someone that goes out and runs for the first time, they just go out and run, and then they start to run more often, and then they start joining a club, and now they're a runner.
Sure.
Like, I'm a runner. That's my identity. So, not me personally. I love running, but somebody who really considers that part of their identity, then they're getting up early in the morning for their runs. They're doing their warm-ups, their recovery. So that was really big in the beginning. I would tell them all, like, you're an athlete. I see you as an athlete. And when you take on that as an identity, whether you're a pro or you're a recreational athlete,
sure,
you're going to want to start doing things that athletes do.
Yeah, I love it. And speaking of, like things that athletes do, I see you at a lot of events doing a lot of pre-round stuff and even post-round stuff. Is there any way, I'm not going to say give all your trade secrets or anything like that, but could you give us a rough idea of what a pre-round warm-up routine and maybe a post-round cool-down routine might be?
Yeah, so it really is important to do kind of both. The last couple of years, I was putting the pre-round warm-up out. This year, kind of started adding in the restorative cool down afterwards, the recovery work, because I wanted to kind of slow cook it in and not say to the athletes, like, 3 years ago, it's like, hey, let's start doing everything. I just wanted to get them comfortable with doing a warm-up first, and then after that, getting into the cool down. So things to do pre-round, things that are going to get your joints moving, increase blood flow, elevate your heart rate and your body temperature. One thing that I don't recommend doing, which I see often, is static stretching. So like that's the stretch and hold, right? And studies have really shown that can actually could decrease performance and also potentially increase your injury risk. And it's something that we always did in high school sports and before, but the studies have shown that really isn't that effective. It's just something we always did. So if you're going to do stretching, make it more dynamic. So dynamic is I'm moving through a full range of motion. So instead of here and hold, I'm just going nice, quick, light pulls. Gotcha. Instead of doing a hamstring stretch, touch your toes and hold it. I'm swinging my legs. Where I'm going through that range of motion, but it's getting everything warmed up and ready to move. Where you're not, like if you static stretch, we kind of say it's like you're telling your body you're going into a relaxed mode. It's like, hey, relax and now be explosive.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to fit. So that's the pre-round stuff. The cool down I think is like, because I played baseball my whole life,
Mm-hmm.
and a pitcher pitches, and the next day they run and they get all that lactic acid out of their arms.
Mm-hmm.
I, granted, I'm using that word not really fully understanding what that means, but is that the same concept?
Yeah, with the cooldowns, we want to start that recovery process as soon as possible. So the athletes, they are performing on the course, and then the very next day, they're getting out there to do it again and again. And as coming from baseball, you'll know that most pitchers are going to have a 5-day or a 7-day, routine.
Window, yeah.
Yeah. So once they pitch, it's not going to be 5. It's going to be 5 or 7 days before they pitch again. Where we're going out there and repetitively throwing every single day. So the quicker you can start that recovery process, the better. Now, what I do with the athletes here is they will do some foam rolling, some longer foam rolling, which is kind of like a self massage on a. It's a foam roller. They're cylindrical rollers you can find anywhere. So they'll do some foam rolling, upper back, glutes, their lats, so their back muscles here, which they use a lot when they throw. And then we'll do a lot of stability work because we're actually spending an entire round moving our joints through a full range of motion at a high velocity, so we can kind of actually make our shoulder a little more too mobile.
Okay.
Which you need to have good mobility, but you actually need to have really good stability.
Gotcha.
So we want our shoulder joint to be able to move, but we don't want it so mobile that it's popping out of the socket, right? So we need to work on some stability. And then another big thing that we work on is recovery breathing. So belly breathing, because the faster we can get our body into more of what we call like a rest and digest or rest and recover state, the better. So you'll see all the athletes, they're doing all their work and then they lie on their back and they do a couple minutes of recovery breathing.
That's great. You said rest and digest. I had an interview with Eagle where he used those exact same words.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see all these guys and girls really buying in, and I think we're seeing dividends with these guys and girls playing some of the best golf we've ever seen. You mentioned a bit ago that 3 years ago you didn't want to overwhelm them with all these things they had to do. And what stuck out to me was 3 years ago. Right now I feel like we're really starting to see Disc Golf Strong being represented at a lot of events and taken in from a lot of players. But what was it like doing this 3 years ago when it wasn't maybe as, everywhere,
Yeah, it was interesting. The first person I ever worked with was JB, John Baldwin. And I got partnered up with him for a triples event beginning of January 2016 and just started telling him about some stuff and said, do you think this might help you as a player? And he said, absolutely. There's nothing like that out there. And so, because I've been, cooking up in my head since 2015. So that really gave me the confidence to kind of get out there and start putting information out there. In the beginning, just working with JB a little bit. Outside of that, I would come to a tournament and just, kind of observe, help, give some advice if needed, but really no one knew who I was. And Sarah Hokum reached out to me pretty quickly. She's a 3-time All-American volleyball player, so she's used to, getting in the gym and the athletic side of the sport outside of just the skill side of the sport. So she would come out, and I know here at even Masters Cup one year, she's doing her full Disc Golf Strong warm-up, and everyone else is just walking right by her. And that's okay. That's just where the sport was at that moment, and I would be out there getting my buddy at the local club, warming him and me up, and everyone else just walking past us, and people thought, no, warming up is putting and maybe throwing a few drives off hole one, where now it's gone a lot. It's progressed a lot since then, so it's really great to see.
Absolutely. Like, it's true. It's funny now the minority are the people not warming up and working out. And, I don't know if we necessarily can see those, like, the stroke for stroke differences in the people who are warming up and the people who aren't, but the general consensus that I get is it's more of an energy towards the end of the round thing, not like any one of their shots is better for it or their sidearms are more crisp or anything. But is that something that was that like a goal of yours from the start?
Yeah, and it's really also how they feel right from hole one. Like Eagle has even told me that he's at a point where if he only had time to either warm up or throw before a tournament round, he would warm up. And that's becoming true for a lot of players. Sarah Hokum's told me that as well, a number of players. So they want to get on the course right away and feel like they're ready to compete right from hole one. Their body feels maximized to, for the athletic potential that they have. Yeah, so, you know, really from the beginning to the end, to the endurance at the end, it's all going to pay dividends.
Yeah, I feel like especially on a course like this, day law being so arduous, granted some of the changes have lessened that with the hill coming at the beginning instead of the end, but I think it'll be interesting to see the difference in just a year's time with how many people are doing the warm-ups. Something I think that people don't really know is that from the beginning, this was just like a passion project for you, right? It was just like all on your dime. Are you going to be able to transition that into something that can take the place of a full-time position back home, or is that the goal for you, or like where are you with that?
Yeah, so I went full-time in a disc golf. I used to own a gym for a couple of years, and I shut that down to go full-time in a disc golf strong 2 years ago. And so I train a couple clients back at home, but most of my time is spent in disc golf. I do have an app, Disc Golf Strong app, that's available on the phone. And there's a free app, and there's actually even a paid portion of the app called the Disc Golf Strong Inner Circle. So, there's more opportunities out there. It's still mostly on my dime. It is a passion project.
Yeah.
I didn't get into it to say like, hey, I'm going to start this great company and just fully make a ton of money. That's not where it's at. It is full passion, because I really want to, with such a high injury rate in our sport, one of my biggest goals is to lower that injury rate and help us all play strong and healthy disc golf. But to keep it going, that's where it's kind of going from there. I'm going to a lot more tournaments every year. This year I'm going to Europe for a month.
I was just going to mention that.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off,
No,
but I would love to hear what your plans are, because the European Open and the President's Cup and maybe Toonie are some of the tournaments that people know that are going over there, but you have a much bigger schedule than that, right?
Yes, I'll be over there a month, and when I get over there, I'm going to get over there 2 days before the Toonie starts, the tournament starts, and so the day before the round one, I'm actually teaching 2 Disc Golf Strong clinics where I'm partnering up with the Toonie, and then I'm teaching a clinic on Thursday, and then I'm teaching a ladies only clinic in Finland on Monday, and then another clinic on Tuesday, and then I go to Norway for a couple days. I'm going to teach 4 or 5 clinics there. I'm going to be in Stockholm. Just found out I'm going to go to Copenhagen, teach some clinics, possibly Estonia, and then back to Finland for the European Open. So that's really going to be the big start for teaching actual Disc Golf Strong clinics. And then when I get back, I'm going out to the Music City Open. So they're actually flying me out to be part of that great event, and have a presence there and lead warm-ups and things like that. So
Is that something you see going on in the future more stateside? Because I don't know, I don't think you've done too many of those, right? Where like specifically Disc Golf Strong clinics. Is that something you'd like to grow here as well?
Yes, definitely. And I think when I get back, there's going to be a lot more opportunities, I think, for Disc Golf Strong clinics. I'll be at the USDGC this year, after, later on in the year. So I'm going to try to start setting up clinics to go on throughout the year. Absolutely.
That's honestly really awesome. And I'm truly happy for you, because, we've been hanging out even like at tournaments a couple years ago. I remember US Masters, we were just kind of hanging, and it has really grown a lot since then. So I'm really stoked it's all picking up for you. Is there anywhere that the folks at home, like what's the info? How do they get in as the inner circle?
Yeah.
How do they get involved?
So if they just start out with just downloading the Disc Golf Strong app, that's the first part. But if they go to discgolfstrong.com/inner circle, that's where they can learn more information about the inner circle. I also have information on my Instagram and YouTube and Facebook page about that stuff. And that's where I would direct everybody. If they go to the app and just the free app, you can get over 400 videos, exercise video library, the pre-round warm-up, and a few jump start programs. And then the inner circle is where you go deeper into the programs, what I'm doing with the athletes, with Eagle and Ricky and Sarah and Paige and them. And then I have like a private Facebook group in there, and there's a lot more that goes on in there.
Sure. Well, hey, I know you got a lot of things going on. Sure, you have to set up your warm-up area at some point, which actually I think is going to be here, right?
Yeah, for Friday, Saturday, it's going to be here. And then Sunday, we're going to be right out by the hole one. So I'm excited about that. Yeah. And the players are really wanting to make sure that there's a warm-up area everywhere. So this year I partnered with the Disc Golf Pro Tour to make sure that every tour stop has a Disc Golf Strong warm-up area. And the athletes, like I said, they have been, really appreciative of that, to make sure that there's a designated spot for them to do their warm-ups at. And I just see that progressing in the future for other events as well.
Cool. I really, I've said enough. I've gushed all over you, but I really do like the development. It feels much more athletic. It feels like a truer sport. I want to give you a chance, though, before we get out of here, to give any piece of advice, answer any questions, anything you want to tell to the prospective disc golfers out there who maybe would like to be a disc golf athlete, and maybe get more involved with this workout program.
Yeah, the big thing is, first, just like we were saying earlier, is taking on that identity that you are an athlete and that this is an athletic move, whether we believe it or not. The demands that this sport places on our body are extremely high. And with an injury rate that's in the 80%, according to one study from University of Arizona, we want to play this sport forever. I've had people say, well, I don't really care about throwing farther, but they want to throw longer, as in they want to play this game as long as they can, play this sport. And so even just starting out with just basic warm-up exercises, that's where I direct everybody. And, I tell all my athletes, the science that this stuff works is there. The science that physical preparation and doing these warm-ups and cool downs and beyond that, off-season, in-season training, that's all stuff you can do later. But the science is there. The art is just figuring out how to fit it into your life. Because if it wasn't there, then professional sports teams wouldn't be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars or more on strength and conditioning staff, training facilities, off-season, in-season workouts, all that. So, like I said, the science there. So just doing something is better than doing nothing. I tell my athletes, even 1 minute of warming up is better than no minutes of warming up, And something I forgot to mention earlier is, like, this year in January, the PDGA created the medical committee. And so I was selected to be on the PDGA medical committee. And really, even now the PDGA, so it was just me, Disc Golf Strong, the last 3 years. But now with the PDGA actually creating a committee where the PDGA is seeing how valuable it is to make sure that the health and well-being of our athletes, both rec and pro, is for not only ourselves but for our sport, is really cool to see. So really, excited that PDGA went that route. So, it's important. Just start with something. Just start with shoulder halos. Look that up on the app. I think Big Germ said something like he saw that was like a meme now or something. There's like a dance where people are doing shoulder halos all over the place. So people love that one. Just start somewhere, and then you can build up after that. Even if it's not a habit right now, that's okay. Just make 1 minute of it a habit. And then as you get comfortable with that, you just start building up beyond that. Because really, disc golf isn't just about throwing frisbees into the air and watching them fly, right? Mm-hmm. I get so many messages from people. I got a message from someone one time, said that he hadn't been able to throw since the 4th of July. And he said his elbow hurt so bad he couldn't even open his door or pour himself a cup of coffee. And he said that he's been playing for 10 or 15 years. And the worst thing, though, was not necessarily throwing a disc. It was all of his best friends were disc golfers. It was how he blew off steam. It was about how he still stayed competitive beyond high school and college sports. It was about being with others, like-minded people who all like to have fun and have similar goals. So we don't want that to be taken away from us just because we blow a shoulder out because we didn't warm our shoulder up, right? So it's not just about what happens on the course. It's about how this could affect you off the course as well, So start somewhere. There's a pre-round warm-up. Just start doing that. Even if you're the only one, I've had people say, hey, I'm the only one, and everyone walks by me and chuckles. It's okay. They're like, this is what I'm doing. And then they tell me, and someone else comes and join them. So even if you're the only one at your club, Eagle's doing it, Ricky's doing it, Sexton's doing it. Everybody's on tour doing it. So if people run your club are like, hey, that's silly, they'll be doing it eventually someday, hopefully. So just do something.
Cool. I appreciate the messaging, Seth, and I appreciate your time. It's a long time coming, and I'm glad we got this one on the books. For all of you at home, check out Disc Golf Strong on all socials, download the app, get involved, and if you want coverage of all things disc golf, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out that interview, and thanks again to my newest sponsor, the Next Gen Tour. Check them out online and find the nearest regional qualifier, and maybe you could find yourself at the championship in Austin.